Welcome back. Well, let's call in the members, that being our Tuesday trio of MPs, for their thoughts on the political schemes afoot in the House of Commons and beyond. On today's panel, our regular Stella Ambler is here for the Conservatives, Sean Casey is here for the Liberals, and Peter Julian for the New Democrats. He doesn't want to talk about the Luongo trade. All right, we'll move right along. I want to talk about what's going on in the House. It's been so strange, this discussion about Brad Butt. He basically admitted this story he had about seeing voter ID cards being taken out of garbage and being used by people to vote fraudulently was all something he imagined and made up, and he sort of apologized for that in the House. But why is this such a firestorm, Peter? Why does it keep going? I mean, it seems to me they want to send it off to a committee now. He's apologized. Isn't that enough?
Well, they want to actually stop debate on a very important procedural motion that comes out of what he said in the House. In the same way, Don, if you go to a court of law and you say something that is deliberately untruthful, there are consequences. And here in Parliament, people have to have the expectation that when somebody talks about something they've seen, that there is some reality to it. That you can't just make things up on the floor of the House of Commons. And he did. Andrew Scheer ruled in a very unprecedented way that we have a debate on this, and now the Conservatives are trying to stifle that debate, and it's very unfortunate because this is an important issue.
I'll get to you in a second, Stella, but Sean, okay, there's truth, and what should the consequences be when it's not true for an MP that's misled the House?
Well, I think what really sets this apart is the amount of time. First of all, the mistruth was repeated. There was what, 19 days elapse before there was a clearing of the record, and that clearing of the record came only after there was a complaint to Elections Canada, and then that somebody, the Conservative Party has some experience with contempt proceedings. Somebody obviously got a hold of them and said that clearing of the record isn't going to do it. Go back in there and use the word sincerely apologize. So when you take that sequence, when you take a repetition of the mistruth, a lapse in time, something that wasn't an apology, followed by a forced apology, this takes it outside the realm of someone who stated something that wasn't true and immediately brings it back. And I think that the process that we're going through now reflects it. I also think it says something about the legislation, when in order to put forward your case for the legislation, you've got to make stuff up.
Interesting. Stella, what's the harm in sending it to a committee and having a bit of a discussion about what you do when any member is found in a prima facie case of contempt of Parliament?
I think really what's happening, first of all, let me say I've known Brad for 25 years or so.
Oh, really? You've known him that long?
Yeah, we're both from the same area of the GTA, and you know, I have to say, I think, you know, he apologized, recognized that, you know, he shouldn't have said that. The Speaker acknowledged that and made a clear ruling. And I think what's happening now is that we're wasting time in the House of Commons talking about it.
We'll send it to committee and we'll waste time there.
Well, exactly. And I think that's exactly what the opposition's trying to do, is to talk about, instead of talking about having a real discussion at the committee level about the Fair Elections Act, which they say is important. So I'm not, to them, and it is important for democracy in Canada. And I think that that's what we should be talking about at committee, and in the House of Commons we should be talking about the things that Canadians care about. There's a situation in the Ukraine we could be talking about. There are economic measures that we could be talking about, jobs for Canadians. These are the kinds of things that we should be spending time on. There's just nothing further to be gained at this point by talking about this point of privilege anymore in the House of Commons.
If I may,
it's been hours, 2 days.
I know, it's been 2 days now. The Speaker did, and he's a Conservative MP, but he takes a neutral position as the Speaker. He did say there's a prima facie case of contempt of Parliament here. So if he's come to that conclusion, doesn't it at least warrant going to committee and let it thrash out there? What's the harm in sending it there?
What are you thrashing out? It's all been said. I mean, it's...
Okay, fair enough. Peter, why do you want to go to committee if you're just going to thrash out what you've already thrashed out in the floor of the Commons?
I think there's a double standard here. Any Canadian citizen who goes in a court of law and deliberately misleads a judge is going to face consequences. That is a simple reality. Here we have contempt of Parliament, somebody who deliberately made up, manufactured evidence to try to reinforce what is a very weak government case on the Unfair Elections Act. And obviously there has to be consequences. And I think it's it's a bit disingenuous for Conservatives to say, well, you know, we believe that when people break the law that there has to be consequences, but when somebody is clearly found in contempt of Parliament, and I think that's a very, very clear finding if we were allowed to follow through with this, rather than having Conservatives shut down debate, there should be consequences for his actions.
Very briefly.
Yeah, no, there are serious problems with vouching, and this is what he was talking about. He was raising a valid point about the fact that there are, you know, the Neufeld report found that 1 in 4 vouched votes were problematic in some way in the last.
So you
year.
just
it's
say
a serious
you say that's a serious problem, but you don't say I saw someone doing something.
No, absolutely, and that's why.
Never happened.
And that's why
if it's not true.
Let's move along quickly because we got lots of other topics here. Interesting story. Bear with me just a second. I want to give our viewers a chance to understand. So the Ottawa Citizen found this out, that the Conservatives were using the party website to televise a reception by the Aga Khan last week, and the only way to see it was through the Conservative website, but you had to give them an email to see a government a government event, if you will. On the other hand, so they were collecting emails for possible party donation solicitation down the road. On the other hand, the Liberals were collecting emails because those who wanted to wish good or deliver good wishes to the new Trudeau baby. Since your party appears to be without sin, Peter, let me ask you, is there something ethically squeamish about that?
Well, I would say there is a fundamental problem with the Aga Khan's visit. This was a parliament receiving the Aga Khan and the visitors that were there. I had a constituency come from Burnaby, New Westminster that I got tickets for so that they could see the Aga Khan speak to Parliament, and then took them out for lunch afterwards. It is the taxpayers that footed the bill. It was not a partisan Conservative event, and for the Conservatives to then try to capitalize on what is an expenditure of taxpayers' money that was used for the Aga Khan to come and address Parliament in a non-partisan way shows a misguided ability to understand ethics that I think is troubling to any Canadian who has a fair mind. That they understand there's a difference between partisan politics in the Conservative Party and what is Parliament in a non-partisan way receiving a religious leader.
Stella, quickly to you, and then Peter.
We're
Sean.
talking about the issue is with the Friday event in Toronto, and not the event that was held that you and I both attended, as did dozens, hundreds of members of Parliament from and guests that were invited from all kinds of people were invited, obviously, to both events. Invitations went out. The parliamentary event, the speaking in Parliament. Okay, so the Friday event, thousands of invitations went out to Ismailis and non-Ismailis, and you know, in terms of collecting email addresses, I think that's a very common practice for not only political parties of all types, but businesses and so on. Our Prime Minister we are a Conservative government, Conservative MPs. For the Conservative Party to promote an event, I don't think is a serious problem. If someone doesn't want to give their email address, they don't have to.
See the event.
They don't. Then you know what? That's it. Many people were invited. Thousands of people attended.
Well, this was
event.
Viewing it over online, though.
Yeah.
You had to log on.
I just
Sean?
don't see the real problem. Obviously it's a Conservative government.
Do you see a problem with
that's
that?
where the website happened
or what
to be.
Justin Trudeau did on. Give me your email address if you want to send me a congratulations.
I agree entirely with what Peter said, and with only one thing that Stella said, and that is that all parties are doing it. It's not fair to compare the Justin Trudeau baby greeting card with what was done with the Aga Khan, and there's two specific reasons for that. With the Aga Khan event, it was a government event, and the only way to see it was by giving the Conservative Party of Canada your email. To send a congratulations card to Justin Trudeau, the email address was optional. You could send the card without putting your email in, and there were multiple other ways to wish Justin Trudeau congratulations. It wasn't exclusive. So those are the two things that make it different. It was a government event, it was exclusive, and the email was mandatory. That was not the case for Mr. Trudeau.
Quick last word to use, though.
Yeah, I just think it's cheapening the whole event by making it partisan in this way. It's not. This is not.
It was partisan.
This was a visit by His Highness the Aga Khan. The message was one of pluralism, tolerance, freedom. You know,
and
for someone, people should be able to see that. that. And so, you know, you can always press unsubscribe. It's not very difficult to do. I do it all the time.
no,
It's not that difficult.
One final point, Stella, I want to make with you before we sign off on this. Why should you have to give your email then if you want to watch this? Instead, just make it like the Liberals did, optional.
The technology side of it, I can't explain. Maybe there is the reason that you have to give it. I'm not sure.
Okay,
about
10
that.
seconds to you, Peter. We're out of time.
I'm flabbergasted that Conservatives do not understand that they have gone over what is a very clear ethical line. And when you have a public event, and they can try to make distinctions and say, well, there was a public event and then there was a private event.
Unfortunately, that's just not a big deal. It's just not a big deal.
No, it is a big deal. No, and people are
really
raising legitimate
you know what?
concerns.
You're trying to take a great event, a great speaker with a message, a man who has great affection
those
for
ethical lines.
You know,
you have to.
Okay, I'm out of time. Sorry, I didn't even get to the third one. Anyway, okay, thank you all, Stella, Peter, and Sean. Coming up, the Council of the Federation gets a new chair this summer as the largest province hands over the chair job to the smallest. Prince Edward Island's Premier previews a year of provincial relations with the federal government after these messages. Please stay with us.